Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Here's another project I'd like to check off the list. This is an old door that used to be on an old shed, and it's a metal door, but it's a wooden core, and I think the bottom is a little rotted, but it's good enough for what I want to use it for, and that's to put it on the shed that I put up. Still don't have the door on now. This door, a complete door from like Home Depot, is like close to $300. So I like to use this. But when you buy that door, you know, it comes with the frame, all framed, and you just put it into the opening with some shims, and you're set to go. But what I did here, because the frame was all rotted, is I bought this frame. I've had it for a while, and I've got the existing hinges on this door. Then I bought this threshold. So I have to figure out how to go about framing this door up. I thought I'd get it together and then be able to just put it into the opening once I have all this frame, because I have to cut it. So they have some weather stripping here that's oversized, and I have to, so this is the opening, so this would be facing outside. I'm going to have it so the door opens into the shed. I thought about it, and although, you know, it limits things you want to store in the shed, you have to be able to swing the door open. I want this to swing in, and so this is how the frame would be. And the hinges are on this side, but I need to scribe, I guess, where the hinges are going to set. And because this is a metal door, for some reason, the hinge on the door side is not. They didn't cut it so it sets into the door. I have another door that's metal that they did route out. So the hinge sets in, so I have to make sure that I route out enough material to accommodate the thickness of the hinge on just the frame. So I think I have to flip this over. I'm trying to figure out how much I need to cut off on this. You can see there. So definitely need to trim the weather stripping here and scribe the hinge, and then I could, so this sets in here, and then I could glue and screw these two together. I also need to figure out how much I need to cut off, because there's not a bottom wooden plate here. There's just going to be this sitting on the floor of the shed. It has this little weather stripping here that you can see there. That's what it looks like. I thought you slid this in, but it looks like I just bend this and snap it in place. So something like that. So I have to, yeah, and the way they cut this, they have it at an angle, so there would be like a threshold that the water would shed off of. Guess that's why they did that. But I just need to cut that off. Yes, I'd like to get this door in place. Get it out of the cellar. Alright, so I have an existing door the same size as this, and this opening here has to be 32 inches. So I have a gap on this side, but if I recess one side of the hinge into the frame, it'll push the frame that way, because that one there is flush, and you need a little bit of a gap so the door doesn't rub on the inside of the frame. So hopefully I'll cut this to 32 inches. That's what the other frame measures, and hopefully that'll work out. So you can see how this fits now. So I'm going to glue this in addition to putting in these 2-inch exterior screws. I think I'll put 3 in on each side. Let's see. Just do the top corner first. I can square it up. Looks like it's flush. So there's probably a lot easier way to do this, but I flipped the door over, and so I know where the hinges are, and I'm trying to equally space. So I've got this big gap here because it's doubled up on the hinge, because this side on the door is not recessed into the door, it's just on top of the metal casing of the door. So at least 1/8 of an inch for recess here. And at the top, I guess about 1/8 of an inch. And it's sitting on the weather stripping, so that should be good. That's the only way I could figure out it. These hinges, I think they were left over from another project. They're upside down, but they're locked in, so they're not going to, the pins aren't going to fall out. Yeah, they're upside down. But at least I mark where these hinges are on the inside of the frame here. And I don't know if I'm just going to take a chisel, maybe. So I marked it off here, and I marked it off here. I might just go ahead and take the hinge off the door and then set the hinge in. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to take this off so then I could trace out how the hinge is going to sit in the door frame, and then remove the material. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I took one of the hinges off. I'm going to use this as a template, and I'm just going to have to use a chisel to remove a little of the material. It just is underneath the weather stripping there. I just need to remove about 1/8 of an inch. So that's what it looks like. Yeah, I'm just going to have to do this by hand. Can't get a router on this. I'm sure if I made a jig, well, there's probably a jig you can buy. I'm just going to have to remove this material. So that's one. That's flush. On this threshold, I need to take a quarter off of each side. Make this 32 inches wide. Okay, so I think this is how I'm going to have the threshold. I need to remove 1 3/8 off of the bottom here. It's just a shed. It's not going to be completely airtight. I just noticed on the directions for this threshold, the way it works is the bottom of the door. I don't know, who has the bottom of the door cut like that? It's cut at an angle. So this is the outside, and it's an in-swinging door. So when you close it, it gradually increases pressure on this gasket because the longest side is on the inside facing. So I don't know if it's completely flat, if this is actually going to then interfere with the door closing. So I don't want to put too much pressure on this, so I think that's just about enough to have it so that animals can't get in, at least. So I'm going to remove 1 3/8 off of the bottom here. So I know I'm doing this half you know what backwards, but not too experienced with this. I'll use this saw here. I just put a brace in, so just have to put some wood on the other side to get this on here nice and level, and make my cuts. So that's the door frame, and I'm going to have to trim some more off of this threshold here, because either you make this so that it's not sitting on the floor. I was going to remove some material. I said I'm making it more difficult than it needs to be. I cut it to this opening, and this wider part here is supposed to be on the outside. So the door should be about, where's the door going to be? When it closes, oh, it's going to be right, the gasket's going to be there. So I need to cut, I guess I can just cut a notch out of this about another 1/4 of an inch off of here. Alright, so I notched out the ends there, and so that'll fit like that. So I found I couldn't square the frame in the door opening here. This is a little off, about 1/8 of an inch, so I'm having to remove some material. You can see that this is a straight cut on the siding, but I think this frame, the 2x4 inside, warped a little bit because of the weather. Alright, so I got the bottom hinge in, trying to put the door in by myself here. I've got one screw in the bottom hinge. And you can see there what I did is I put a shim underneath the door to get it so the hinge is just about where I removed the material, so the little pocket there, it fits in. And then I guess I'll do the center one here. So I just need to put the trim on now. I had some paint and painted the front here, but I think I'm used to kind of like the tan. I might get some paint made up with that tan color. But yeah, I need to put the trim on. And then just on the bottom here, I cut some of the siding for filler. I was thinking of maybe someday putting an old small porch. Almost fell on the front here, and I don't know if I need to put a ledger on there, but I could just put joist hangers. I got a 2x6 right here, but for now I just want to put these fillers on the front. Well, I couldn't find the keys to the lock that was on the door, so I had to go out and buy another lock. There is a plate on the back, on the inside of the door, for, I'm assuming, a deadbolt, but I would have to drill a hole from the outside through the metal. So I decided to buy this deadbolt set here. So I keep on sinking money into this shed. Yeah, I wish I could, I don't know where the keys went for that old lock. So I'm going to install this lock, or the handle here, the knob, and at a later date figure out how I go about adding the deadbolt here. So, yep, I wish I knew where those keys were. So, this just, okay, so this has to go in first. And this. The other side. So this just goes on that, and I get the two screws here. This is always the hardest part, is lining these up. And there's just two screws that go in here. Hopefully the wood isn't rotting or rotten or stripped. That seems like it's turning, so I might have to put some pieces of wood in there. That seems okay. But I might have to, yeah, that's nice and tight. This here, this is stripped, so it doesn't take much. I'm just gonna put some pieces of wood in there. Break that off. And then put the screw back in. There we go. With the door jamb. So I was thinking of, well, I could trace that out. I was thinking of using a Sharpie, but that's pretty easy to gauge, to see that. So again, with the chisel, I have to remove some material there. Put that plate on the jamb. So I was thinking if I just take a Sharpie before this dries. Close the door. This will show me where I need to install the plate. Well, it's not that prominent, but that plate needs to go here. Okay, so to remove the material, about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, and I just need to, I was measuring the other door. Okay, so that was a lot of work because I didn't have a wood rasp. I just had some metal files, something like this. So I think I have it positioned just right. I closed the door with just this sitting in here without it screwed in. It just comes with these screws. That's why it has the deadbolt. The exterior screws, the way the screw head tapers, it sticks out a little bit, so it's not exactly flush, which I would like to use for more security. But if somebody's going to break this door down, they're going to get in, they want it that bad. So for now, I'm just going to put these little screws in. And this door should close now. It's up against the weather stripping. Lock it. Now the only thing left is this bottom threshold metal plate here. It ends up I can't use this with the gasket. What happens is this bottom of the door here has a seam. So it's two shells, and there's a seam, and there's some rod in the wood on the bottom here, but it catches. And it pulls the two pieces apart. It catches on this, so they do have. You know, I'm going to put more money into this if I want to put more money into this. There's another piece that has the weather stripping. It's like this, but it's opposite. It goes on the door, so it has something like this, and it actually fits on both sides of the door, so it just you just slide it up onto the door, so it's like a U shape. So it has a piece on both sides, and it has a gasket coming down from the bottom like this. And then if I want, that's about $28. And then there's another, like if I want to get a nice wide. The only thing is without this gasket in here, I guess I could just fill this up with silicone. So I was worried about the water collecting in these channels. So I could further cut this so it brings it this way, so it's up to the edge of the siding that I have for filler on the bottom here. Or there's a 5.5 inch plate that's about $23 that I can purchase. That's smooth. It doesn't have any of these ridges in it. Yeah, so I can't use this one. catches on the door. But at least I've got the door on and I can close it. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention that I found this in the cellar that I had purchased at some later date. I could just go ahead and cut this to fit. This is some weather stripping. This is heavy duty aluminum and vinyl door sweep. Okay, call it a door sweep. So I could just use the existing threshold I have here and this and save me $50. So this is New England Gardening. I finally have the door on and the trim around the door. Just need to do some painting and you know, a little detail work with the threshold there. But I'm happy that I have the door on now. Reuse that door instead of having to either purchase another one or make something up. I had it, so I wanted to reuse it. This is New England Gardening. Still working on the shed. Thanks for watching.